Turbo and 2K show.
What's up, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again, and we do have the Mr. 2K's in the building, in the 643 studio, sponsored by the Marcellus News. 2K's, what's going on, brother?
Not much. How's it going today?
Doing good. It's kind of a good thing, but kind of a bad thing, because by this time next week, college football will be over. Kind of a bummer, but we're going to get into a little bit of college football talk, but of course we are going to be talking about the national title game. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft a little bit, and we wanted to say, first of all, thank you, 2K crew. I reached out to you guys in the Facebook group and on Twitter. Didn't get any Twitter responses, but I did post it kind of late, but we did have, as always, some awesome things to talk about from the 2K crew. So hopefully we will see some of those here in the chat. And for the handful of you that are with us live, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and drop a comment. We want to hear your thoughts on some of this stuff, and let's get a conversation going. And as always, for those of you that are watching live, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Ring the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And if you are feeling extra saucy, go to buyturbobeer.com, buy 2Ks and I a beer, and we will be forever indebted to you, and we will give you a big shout out on the show. Well, 2Ks, let's kind of jump right into it. We got the national title game Monday. And last week we kind of talked about our projections or how we thought the bowl games would play out. And I think out of all of our projections, only one of them was right.
Yeah, I mean, the close game for Georgia and Ohio State was, I was all over that one as far as it coming down to a field goal at the end. I think I had said last week that I thought Georgia would make a field goal to win the game, but it turned out Ohio State would miss a field goal to win the game.
Well, you're right. That makes two of our predictions right then.
Yes. But as far as for the other game, the Michigan game, and nowhere even close to my expectations on that one.
No, unless you're an under better, which there's not many of them around these days, but there are some that, as Pat McAfee puts it, enjoys bad football. You really hated this game. I mean, Michigan fans probably left with a really bad taste in their mouth. But as far as offense is concerned, there was a ton of offense in both games. Not a whole lot of defense, which we kind of alluded to in last week's show. Is Georgia and Michigan by far probably had the best two defensive squads out of the four, hands down. And yeah, it was. We watched the Ohio State Georgia game together, and pretty much the whole second half, I would say, of the Michigan TCU game together. So I almost kind of bypassed kind of our reactions to this game, because I figured we had already talked about it on the show, but we haven't. And we haven't. So let's get before we break down the national title game, let's kind of back it up. Get us to where we need to go. And what was your biggest takeaway from the TCU Michigan game?
I mean, exactly what I said last week, as far as the only team that can beat Michigan in this game is Michigan themselves. And when you turn the ball over twice inside the 2-yard line and then have 2 pick sixes, and you still only lose by 6 points, and had the ball at the end with a chance to score a touchdown and kick an extra point and win that game still, it tells you who the better team is. The better team is Michigan by far. They just beat themselves. There's no other way of putting it. You start the drive, the opening drive of the game with almost, I think it was probably about a 60-yard carry by Edwards that takes them down into the red zone. They're able to get into the 2-yard line. They have a 4th and goal, and I just saw the comment on Facebook from Corey Ackerman asking, why do you run the Philly special when you have the best offensive line in college football on the 2-yard line? And I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it was the worst play call I've seen all year long. You have the best offensive line. If you're going to draw that, if that's the play you draw up, I would rather just bring out Moody and get the 3 points,
Right.
and take the 3 points off the first drive and at least get some kind of momentum going your way after that drive. Instead, you gave all momentum to TCU from just running a stupid play. I mean, an awful play. I mean, worst case scenario, you try to run the ball and you don't, and you're short. You give the ball to TCU in on their 1 yard line.
Yeah.
So really, I mean, that possession for them on the offensive side of the ball, they're shot. And to start the first offensive drive in the semifinal game from your 1 yard line is something that you do not want to do. Instead, you ran it out there, you were tackled, you ended up giving them the ball at about the 8 yard line. That's a whole different story, starting your drive from the 8 from the 1.
There's a lot more room there, yeah.
It's
100%.
just that kind of set the tone of the game, I believe. And then McCarthy was not sharp. The 2 pick sixes. Other than that, he did end up. The numbers look good, except for the 2 interceptions were taken back for touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, they shot themselves in the foot. They lost, and they deserved to lose that game. I mean, some people might want to go back and say, well, was the play at the 1 yard line a touchdown? It very well probably should have been called a touchdown, but you know what? You had the ball first and goal then on the 1 yard line, and you fumbled in exchange. You lost that game on your own. You can't blame anything on officiating. You can't blame anything on replays. It's basically you only team you can blame is yourselves on that one.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and we've been talking about this, not the fumbled exchange or anything like that, but just the lack of efficiency in the red zone for this Michigan offense. And granted, Moody has converted on the vast majority of those inside the red zone, and we were kind of hoping it wouldn't bite him in the butt, but unfortunately it did in the biggest stage.
Yeah. And that we didn't really see it in the Ohio State game, and we didn't see it obviously in the Purdue game, but we saw it in the in the semifinal game. The loss of Blake Corum hurt.
Yeah,
not having. I mean, you have Corum in that situation. Not to take anything away from Edwards, and Edwards is running with basically it looks like a walking boot on his hand.
Yeah.
So that does. I understand why they don't want to give him carries inside the goal line where things have got to be quick and you got to be perfect when you're down there in the goal line. You can't. There's no room for error. But you go to a guy that was a linebacker at the beginning of the season that has a total of 4 carries on the season, and he's getting that touch. That's where if Blake Corum's healthy, that guy, we don't even know who that guy is. And Corum's the one that's getting 20, 25, 30 carries in these games down the stretch. And that's where it showed. Not having him was, you know me better than anybody. I hate coming up with excuses, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But I would be very hard pressed if anybody really had an argument at me as who the better football team is between those two.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, I'm fan biased, but even just for being a college football fan, Georgia TCU in the national championship, people would rather see Georgia Michigan in the national championship. And the numbers don't lie. I mean, you see the ticket sales plummet.
Oh yeah.
And it's I don't really know. I really have no interest in even turning this game on. I think Georgia just fucking steamrolls them.
Yeah, this would be the case no matter what, but yeah, you're going from a big house that holds 110,000 to the new stadium over there in LA, which probably holds 55. And Michigan constantly sells that game out. Now I completely understand different situations. Both fan bases are going to have to travel, but as far as I guarantee the fan base of Michigan is way, way, way larger than the fan base of TCU. And so, yeah, I'm right there with you as far as the Michigan is concerned. They 125% beat themselves. And not only that, but we kind of had a feeling that TCU playing in the Big 12, their offense has to be legit because the Big 12 just kind of outscores everybody. And I honestly thought that not the biggest surprise was just the offensive inefficiency, and inefficiency isn't really the right word because the offense scored a ton of points. I honestly thought that the Michigan defense would hold up a lot better against that TCU offense. That was my biggest takeaway of that is where was the defense? We saw a Michigan team 2 games prior against an Ohio State offense hold them in check for the vast majority of that game. And it seemed like the defense didn't even get off the plane. And you could say that, with Georgia and Ohio State. However, Ohio State's offense, I think, is better than Georgia's offense, but we kind of gave the nod to that Georgia defense over the Ohio State defense. And it came down to a missed kick. And it's watching it live with you, it was a kick that we didn't even get to see because, ironically enough, that kick goes off as 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 ball drops, and we wanted to see the kick, but we got outvoted, obviously. But I think you and I were both shocked when we checked our phone. It's like, hold on, Georgia won this? There's no fucking way. There's no way.
And just a complete shank.
Oh my God. I mean, it wasn't even like a wide left situation. I mean, it looks like he hit the middle of the ball and it's going sideways instead of end over end. It's like, what?
What happened?
And we're talking about a kicker that has a very good history.
Yeah, very good history, and we're not talking about any weather playing a factor.
No.
It's just a big stage, and he did not center it up. So.
No.
But to me, the thing that kind of shocked me about this game is, I give credit to Ohio State. Like they gave them their best shot. Like their offense looked great, receivers looked great. Like we thought, like that we knew
Harrison
they would.
Jr.
C.J. Stroud looked
he
great.
was the best receiver in the country.
C.J. Stroud looked great. To me, a little bit for Georgia is where's the running game? If I'm going to play against Ohio State, I'm taking the approach where I want to try to keep C.J. Stroud and the boys off the field as much as I can, to where it seemed like Georgia just was going to try to match them blow for blow with what they were doing, and it worked, and they were able to escape this one.
Worked.
But to me, I just thought the blueprint of beating Ohio State in this game was take the air out of the ball a little bit, lean on that running game, lean on the offensive line. You watch Michigan a couple weeks, just a few weeks before this, run the ball all over them in the second half, and instead Georgia just took. And when Georgia did run the ball, they had success with it.
Yeah.
They just didn't go with it. They just didn't use it. So. It worked. It got them through it, and now they'll take on TCU next Monday night. And to me, I think it's a blowout. I don't think TCU is going to need Georgia to make all the same mistakes that Michigan made.
Well, since you brought it up, let's take a look at the odds here. This was taken. I grabbed this off FanDuel at noon this afternoon. And I don't think the line probably hasn't changed a whole lot since then. We got Georgia 12.5 point favorites, and the over/under at 62.5. And the thing that jumps out to me the most is the last game we saw both these two. Two games we saw both these two teams play. You got to hammer that over. Hammer that over.
Absolutely.
And especially when it's to the. Taking the spread either side is minus 110, and no matter what side of the over/under you take is minus 110. So if I'm laying money, in my eyes, the best bet right here is the over. Now, one thing I did want to point out here, is if you would have taken TCU last week, what were they, plus 1,800?
Yeah, to win it all.
That's down to plus 330. Plus 330. So you'd be way ahead in the money. I know I kind of jokingly said to throw some cash on it, sprinkle a little bit. It doesn't look like a bad thing now, by any means. But I did not make a slide for this 2Ks, but I did want to bring it up because I actually took a photo of my TV while I was working today, and this is from ESPN. Largest favorites in national title game since 1998. Start of it's the college football playoff / BCS era. In 2000, Florida State was favored 11.5 versus Oklahoma. 2002, Miami was a 12-point favorite against Ohio State. And then this year, Georgia's a 12.5 point favorite versus TCU. Now, the one thing that jumps off the page is the first two. The favorite lost. The favorite lost. I'm pretty sure that 0-2 Ohio State team was the team that A.J. Hawk was on. And Oklahoma, oof. That's not Sam Bradford, is it? I don't think so. That seems way too long ago. But regardless.
What year was it?
2000. Seems like Sam Bradford would have been a little bit more modern than 2000. But
Who's the one that won the Heisman with like...
Or was that Adrian Peterson?
It could have been. When their Oklahoma quarterback that won the Heisman that had like fucking 2 knee braces. Looked like...
Is that White?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah. Yep. So, yes, this is a huge spread, 2K Crew. It is a very huge spread. But I mean, if we're just going by the history, maybe take a flyer on that plus 330. Maybe take a flyer. But like I said, my safe money is the over on that one. But
Josh Hoople.
Not the one I was thinking of.
Georgia. 13-0.
Yeah. Yep. No, it was 2000 Florida State versus Oklahoma. That's what I'm thinking. That's the one that they pointed out.
Yeah, this is the Oklahoma's quarterback in 2000, Josh Hoople.
Oh, have no idea who he is.
Jason White took over in 2000.
That's the one I was
took over in 2001.
Oh, I was a year off. But you are right. He is a dude with the double knee braces.
Yeah, never made it, and he won the Heisman. Never made it in the NFL because
Surprised he wasn't
his
drafted
whole
by
body
the
was rebuilt. I think.
Well,
looks like Matt Ryan does now, but he was a college student.
That's not a good look. That's not a good look. But so, are you, with what you're saying, you would take Georgia and give the points?
Oh yeah.
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 I'm going the opposite. I'm not by any means saying that TCU is going to win, but you give me that many points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points, but it's like Georgia in big games. I just don't want to go away from them. And Ohio State has the offensive power to stick with anybody in the country.
Oh, 100%.
And TCU's offense is very good, and got to give mad respect to Dugan, the quarterback there, Duggan, whatever the fuck his name is. He's freaking legit, and he's freaking tough. Because I mean, Michigan put him on his back a couple times in that game where it was like, man, is that kid gonna get back up? And it didn't even look like it phased him.
Nope.
And even go to the Kansas State game, the conference championship game that they lost. That kid was just beaten up in that game, and for him to finish that. I mean, I thought there should have been heavy consideration for him to win the Heisman. Yeah. Especially after USC has their blow up. So you got to give him credit, and I think that he's going to be able to make some plays. But man, that Georgia, when they play in big games, and we've watched it this year, they played Oregon, and Oregon was a freaking good team. They play them in the first game of the season and just wipe them out. Yeah. They just wipe out LSU, and LSU just wiped out, just freaking destroyed, and their bowl game. 68-7 or some shit. And over Purdue in their bowl game, and then and I thought not that Purdue's great, but their quarterback, their offense was pretty damn good in that Michigan game, and they were able to keep it close. But for them, LSU just to wipe them out. Well, Georgia wiped LSU out, and even when Georgia played Tennessee when Hooker was healthy, they wiped them out too. So Georgia's going to be a tough team to beat, and I think Ohio State is that one team that has the offensive star power to be able to stick with them. And I think Michigan could probably slow them down where that would be a low-scoring game and maybe stay close. But to me, the Georgia-TCU matchup, I mean, this is everything Georgia could have asked for.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But, I'm still sticking with the safe money is on the over. Is 100%
I agree.
Over. So, is there any other thoughts, predictions, I did think that this was kind of cool before we... I thought this was kind of shocking, is that, they changed it. I must have been looking at something else. Sorry about that, 2K crew. Never mind. I was gonna. It might have been this one that I. Yeah. If you want to take Max Duggan, 2 or more touchdowns is plus 750. As much as that dude runs.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad one, because I think, the reason why I say pound the over on this game is I think Georgia scores well over 40.
Yeah,
I think Georgia's in closer to 50 than they are 40. So, and so Dugan's going to be playing from behind, and TCU's going to have to make some plays. Yeah, I would not. I wouldn't. I don't mind that bet, Duggan, to get 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's including
2 or more
with his feet. Yeah,
2 or more.
Or 2 or more. Yeah, I yeah. And
I like it.
Look, TCU's got some receivers too. They got playmakers. Yes. I'll be very interested to see if their running back that was banged up in the Michigan game is able to return, because that looked like it was a, maybe not a serious knee injury, but a knee injury that's going to be hard to come back off of just a week.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see what happens there, even though the backup for them came out and did just fine against them. But yeah, I don't know. I think Georgia puts up a lot of points.
Well, you kind of alluded to this 2Ks when we were talking about CJ Stroud. And this is a mock draft from the 33rd team. And this is their version 1.2, because they have had a couple other ones. But they have the Texans taking Bryce Young from Alabama, number 1. The Bears with the number 2 overall pick taking Will Anderson from Alabama, which that kid's a stud. And they have CJ Stroud moving up to number 3, going to the Seahawks. I'm trying to see what that's from that's got to be from the Broncos pick, from when they traded over Russell Wilson. They have number 4, Jalen Carter, going to the Cardinals, and number 5, your boy Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky, going to the Colts at number 5. Is the 33rd team completely off the rails here, 2Ks? Do you like that lineup? Or do you see one of these teams going a different route? Oh,
man, it's so hard. This draft speculation of trying to figure out what these teams are going to do and what's going to happen with these picks, there's going to be trades that are going to happen here. We don't even know where these teams are picking at for sure yet. I mean,
I think the top 5 have.
Is the top 5 locked in now with only 1 week to play?
I'm almost positive.
Okay. But I have to go Levis over Stroud yet.
Because
I think Bryce Young solidified himself as he's the number 1 pick. Looked awesome in that game. Last year's Heisman Trophy winner. Was banged up with some injuries this year that I think kind of played a factor in maybe the reason why Alabama wasn't in that playoff. But to me, I think he solidified he is the number 1 pick, unless something just crazy happens here in the combine or leading up to the draft. So
I will give it to the 33rd team, because they have CJ Stroud photoshopped into a Seahawks jersey, and he looks cool in that navy blue. He looks super cool in the navy blue. But if we just take a quick look at it, Texans need a shit ton of help everywhere.
Yeah, but you got to start with a quarterback.
Including quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback is you have to start there. I mean, if you need help all over the place, you have to start at quarterback. And it was kind of like going into the season. You talk about the Lions a little bit, and there was all the pressure in the world on Jared Goff, and he wasn't, because his first year it was okay, but it was just kind of typical Jared Goff, and it was like the Lions have got to be in on one of these 3 quarterbacks. Whatever one you get out of the 3 is a win. But you got to get that franchise quarterback. Well, now, even though they have the potential, and they definitely have the draft stock to be able to move up in this draft if they wanted to take one of these 3 quarterbacks and guarantee themselves to get one of those 3, because I think they're sitting at pick 6 right now.
Yes.
Just outside of the top 5. So they have the capital to be able to move up, I believe, and take one of these quarterbacks.
Well, hold your
if
thoughts
they want.
on that, because that's one of the 2K crew questions.
Okay.
So hold your thought on that. But the Bears obviously don't need a quarterback. Justin Fields.
I have to believe they're not going to use. They're not definitely not going to draft a quarterback. Do they need a quarterback? I've never seen an Ohio State quarterback pan out.
That's true. That's true.
And that's another thing I have to say about Stroud when we get to that is, really, I mean, there was a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks this year where I thought Fields was looking like he was legit, and I still think he can get there. The passing, the accuracy, pretty much everything about the passing game has to improve. But you know what? We said that about
receivers need to improve.
Oh, absolutely. But we said that about Jalen Hurts too.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts, the improvement that he's made in a year on throwing the ball. We knew what this kid could do running the football when he was in college. Now but the improvements that he's made throwing the football has only made his running even better. And the addition of A.J. Brown, when you're getting to, the Bears needing to bring a wide receiver over, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things. I mean, watching the Bears-Lions game last weekend.
That was terrible.
Fields just got destroyed. I mean, you got to protect him a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there was times in that game where, I mean, look, you got 3 wins this season. Maybe it's time, and I know he's not playing this week, but during that Lions game, it was like, maybe it's time to just fucking get him out of there because
this
is our so-called future guy.
Yeah.
And I think he had about 3 different concussions in the same fucking game.
Same play. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I agree that the Bears kind of their season kind of turned around once they started running or including Justin Fields in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that until after they traded away their top 2 defenders.
Yeah.
So going defense with the number 2 overall pick, I completely understand, especially with this guy.
Yeah, well, can't miss.
Yeah,
can't miss with him.
This is kind of like the Hutchinson of this year's draft, and a lot of people say he's better.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? I think
he's more.
It's hard to pass.
Probably more versatile. You can play him in more spots than you can Hutchinson, but there was a lot of questions about Hutchinson coming into the last year's draft. Is he, should he have been the first pick? Is he even legit? Second pick.
He is.
He's had a damn good season this year.
Yeah.
And the one thing about that you can say about Hutchinson is, and he's perfect for Dan Campbell.
100%.
He's perfect for that Detroit team is because the kid fucking grinds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is balls to the wall. Does not take plays off. Talent, and he has a shit ton of talent. The athleticism, maybe not the athleticism that a lot of these pass rushers in the NFL have, but he's got the grit, the want, and then it's not like when I say he doesn't have the talent of some of these guys, it's not far behind.
No.
He's just, the athleticism is just not quite there with some of these other, major pass rushers in the game. But he's got more want than anybody in the league.
And I think A.J. Hawk kind of touched on this on the Pat McAfee show. He's like, when you get young pass rushers in, they've gotten through high school, they've gotten through college with like one move.
Yep.
When you get to the NFL, that one move might work for a little bit, but once they get tape on it, that's when you got to do spin moves, swim moves. You just can't bull rush and just out athlete everybody when it comes to this level. Do I think Hutchinson can do those? Absolutely, and I think he's got the best coach as far as
for how he's built and his and being a high
Yes.
motor guy, he falls right into place there. It's perfect.
Their personalities mesh extremely well.
You have to give kind of to go off the the line that we were supposed to stay on here, but you have to give the Lions a lot of credit on how they've built that team and built that team around that coach because they're especially here in it's unfortunate that they got off to such a shit start.
Yeah.
You have a brand new defensive coordinator, never done it before, and I think that played a huge factor in it. But they've started to figure shit out.
They had a historically bad defense.
Yeah, it was awful. Their offense was lights out, has pretty much been lights out all year.
Yeah,
with the exception of maybe 2 games. I can remember the Patriots game where they were completely awful, and I think they ended up getting smacked like 30-something to 3 or something.
Yeah.
So you take that game away, their offense has been good enough to be definitely in the playoffs.
And Williams has only played 2-3 games.
Yeah.
I think
it really hasn't even been just hasn't been a
3
factor
touches?
yet at this point. Yeah, it just hasn't been. He's more. We're looking to his sophomore year to see what he does. But that to have there's going to be things that have to happen. The Seahawks have to lose, and they have to go into Lambeau and beat them on a Sunday night game, which is going to be very tough because Green Bay might be the team that you just don't want to play in the playoffs. If they are able to get in, you're not going to want to see them because the last couple years, they've been expected to win.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's looking out for them. To where now, they're that team, kind of like San Francisco last year. They got hot. They got hot at the right time. Cincinnati Bengals, they got hot at the right time. Well, now you have Aaron Rodgers that's getting hot, and these young receivers are starting to figure it out a little bit.
And
the
they're
defense, they're getting healthy, and their defense.
Healthy.
I mean, they're to shut Justin Jefferson down last week.
One catch.
I mean, you better look the fuck out. If Green Bay gets in, you better look out. But back and now, I'm kind of bipolar tonight. I'm all over the place. But back over to Detroit, they've done a lot of really good things this year, and to have a shot at even making the playoffs, things have to play in their favor this weekend. But you got to be pretty proud of that.
Oh, 100%.
And be pretty excited about what's coming next year, because these guys, they're a fun team to watch.
Because it's not that long ago they were like a 1-17 team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were garbage.
We're just laughing at them again. Another typical Lions team.
Same old Lions.
Dan Campbell, he's never going to cut it.
No. There was a ton of people in the Detroit media and the fan base itself was like, this MCDC. We're tired of this kind of cartoon that everyone thinks you are. We need results. We need this to happen. And boy, and it kind of all lined up. What they fired their DB coach, and then all of a sudden this team just goes on a fucking run. And of course, the one time I lay a bunch of money on them, Thanksgiving, they take a huge shit. But that just goes to show you. I mean, now we're even though this Vikings team it's still mathematically possible that they could end up with the number 1 seed, and they played like garbage coming down the stretch. Whereas historically, I mean, this has been Aaron Rodgers' division, and that really hasn't panned out this year. But we're seeing now that that offense is finally clicking. Like I said, the defense is getting healthy, and this team has a legitimate shot to. I mean, it's win and you're in. I mean, that's the best situation you can be in if you haven't clinched already. Mm-hmm. And when he was on Pat's show Tuesday, he kind of alluded to, in years past, they hit their stride too early. Yep. And this year, it just seems like everything's lining up to where, this is it. This is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it. And these the young players are probably took a little bit longer to mature, and there was. Could you imagine being a receiver in that receiver room with all this noise going around? I mean, Aaron Rodgers himself is a polarizing character, and all of the shade is being thrown at you and Aaron and the whole team. Mm-hmm. I mean, you and I kind of hinted at it. Is LaFleur's job safe? Because, I mean, talk about garbage. They were only one step up from the Lions. And it blows my mind how... And I think it goes to show you that momentum is real. No matter what NFL people say, momentum is real. And yeah, this is a very scary team. Very scary team. Especially because I was watching that the Vikings game, and I'm like, there's no way Aaron Rodgers is going to win this game. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be a full gaze, and there's no way they're making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Well, fuck me. Yeah. I mean, and it seems like every time. I'm not saying he's like Brady yet. When you count him out, is when he just shits down your neck. But yeah, it's if this season has taught us anything, it's expect the unexpected. And Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, and if you think about it, it'll be the 8th or the 7th seed. Mm-hmm. Will not have a home game. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be playing on the road all the time. So there's not going to be this added lure and luster of Lambeau in February and that type of shit. So if he does make a run, this could possibly be not stat wise, mm-hmm. but as far as leadership wise and everything like that is concerned, this is probably his best season if you look at it that way. Sure, yeah. But still got to get in. Still got to be MCDC and the boys. Still got to be MCDC and the boys. Let's get back to this draft here. I'm not. Jalen Carter is he's from Georgia, and then I mean that Cardinals team is probably one of the most disappointing teams out of everybody.
I mean, what and the thing with me with the Cardinals is, what do you do? I mean, your defense has been shit.
Your boy's probably going to get fired.
Yeah, Kingsbury, you have to say, is gone. Kyler's probably not going to play a game next year.
If he does, it'll be late.
It'll be late in the year. So what are you going to do at quarterback? You have Colt McCoy and you have Trace McSorley are your options right now.
McSorley didn't look horrible.
No, he didn't look horrible, and DeAndre Hopkins is banged up right now, and
But you know
AJ Green is nothing like he used to be.
D-Hop, you had a late start to the season.
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
balled out. We're not playing for anything. Not a problem. Go ahead and sit down.
Yeah.
Go ahead and sit down.
Yeah. But it's just like I don't even know where to think. Where to even think you go with that draft pick? I mean, probably you just go best player on the board, and they're saying at that time that's your defensive tackle from Georgia. This
might be the best pick to trade back.
Yeah. And this might be the opportunity where, because they need more. They need more than just a fourth pick in the draft. Just this defensive tackle. If he's the best option there, maybe this is where a team potentially. And I'm not saying it's going to be Detroit. There's other teams that need a quarterback, and there's other teams that need a quarterback a lot worse than Detroit. Because kind of what I was going at earlier is Detroit really worthy of taking a pick? I mean, to me, if one of these quarterbacks falls to you and you don't have to move. All right, maybe we'll take that quarterback, let him play a year or so behind Goff, figure it out, we'll go from there. But if an option comes and a team tries to trade up and take your pick, by all 100%. Means, you got to look 100%. Into it, because there's things that you can improve and places that you can improve at that needed a lot more than Jared Goff, because Jared Goff has been fucking spectacular for them this year.
Well, we kind of glossed over the Seahawks. I mean, in the 33rd team, they're pretty much saying that Geno's done in Seattle. Geno's had a career year. His contract's up at the end of this year. Now, coming down the stretch here, is it kind of fizzled? Yes, because the Seahawks need to win before they're even in the playoffs. So, as much of a Geno Smith guy and fan as I am, if CJ Stroud's sitting there, or your boy Levis, I think it's time to move on, because you're going to have to pay upwards of $25-30 million multiple years for Geno. I think you take one of these kids, money well spent elsewhere. But and then the Colts, I think you can kind of lump. The
Colts got to go quarterback, right?
They
got to figure that out. But to me, I love where the Lions are at, is because when you look after the Lions,
are they number 6?
They're at 6. If you look after the Lions, you have Atlanta. They need a quarterback. Yeah. You have Las Vegas. We've just found out they need a quarterback. Yeah. You have.
I don't know. Stidham.
He was decent, but I mean,
he didn't play
is
bad.
he the guy that you're going to build your franchise around, or if you have the opportunity to go after?
They're saying Brady's going there, so
we'll see when that happens. Carolina, after that though, they need a quarterback.
Yeah. Speaking of Carolina, they had a little chat with your boy Harbaugh.
And then I see Harbaugh fucking shut that fucking shit right the fuck off.
He
did kind of keep the door open a little bit though in what he said.
But I mean, I'm not even a Michigan fan, and it's like clockwork every year.
Oh yeah, and it's the same. But the funny part about it is the people that say he needs to go or that he needs to look at it are the ones that bash him for not being a good coach.
100%.
Well, if he was such a shitty coach, why are all these NFL teams reaching out to him every single offseason? Why is there so much interest? There was a fucking article I was just reading, I think it was last night, that the Broncos were going to offer him $20 million. Well, you know what? I love you, Jim, and I want you to stay in Michigan.
Take
but if
money.
One of those, if an NFL team is dumb enough to offer any fucking coach $20 million, you take it, Jim, and go, and I'll be the happiest fucking fan for you.
They say
for one, Harbaugh has done his job.
Yeah.
And he has Michigan is in good hands. He can leave and take an NFL job, and Sharon Moore, who has been their offensive line coach, their play caller for the last, just for this year, but he has been their offensive line coach for the last 2 or 3 years. He's ready to take, he's going to leave Michigan soon. He might not even be there next year. That's how he's being talked about as being So if Harbaugh was to leave, he would be the next guy in line. And after that, you probably look at the defensive coordinator this year.
Yeah.
You look at for somebody younger that can start this. All of college football is going with this younger trend, going to younger coaches, and recruiting. Harbaugh's done his job. They're in good hands. If he is to leave, they're in good hands. Do I think he's leaving? Fuck no, I don't think he's leaving. But if somebody offers him $20 million, Jim, it's been nice, man. You did great. I love you. I'm glad you fixed it before you left because it was shit there and a little bit shaky. But
the cupboard's not bare.
You beat Ohio State twice in a row. You've got us into the playoff. Now the next step is to win a playoff game and win the national championship. But you've done everything that we can ask. If somebody offers you $20 million, you go.
I mean that's kind of in some circles that's the asking price for Sean Payton is about $20 million. And getting back to our list here, I mean there's Lovey might be done in Houston. I think Eberflus is just fine in Chicago. Pete Carroll I'm pretty sure he's going to retire when he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy Kingsbury's done. It has to be done in Arizona. And there's absolutely no way the Colts keep Jeff Saturday. So if Harbaugh was entertaining a move to the NFL, there's going to be, even though if you look on like Ian Rappaport and Shefty, their Twitter, they're saying there's not going to be nearly as many head coaching vacancies as there normally is. But I'm like, you know what? There's been a lot of shit football played this year. A lot of shit football. And we haven't, there's been a couple coaches that have been fired mid-season, and Broncos being one of them. I mean, there are going to be some, definitely going to be some openings. So if the right, and I'm not saying Carolina would probably be low on if I was a coaching prospect. It's got to be low on my want board. Even though Carolina, there's usually nice weather, but I don't know. To me, it really doesn't seem too appealing.
Now, do you think Nathaniel Hackett ends up back in Green Bay with their offense being shaky for Green Bay standards?
Well, Pat asked Aaron that on the show. Like, well, do you bring him in mid-season, like right now?
Oh, no.
And he's like, Aaron's like, no.
No, you don't do that now. But, the relationship that Rodgers and him have had. And that's just the way that things work in the NFL. Yeah. Your team is, if you have a successful team, obviously the head coach ain't going to move. So these teams that are looking for a head coach are going to go at coordinators. And the thing for Nathaniel Hackett is, the Packers offense has been fucking phenomenal for 2 years. Aaron Rodgers won an MVP with him. Was Nathaniel Hackett really doing much of the offensive play calling or anything like that? Because I think Matt LaFleur calls the plays. At least I see him on the sidelines. And he doesn't look like
the play sheet.
He's got the play sheet, and he has a headset,
and he's
talking
a lot.
Yes. He doesn't look like Brady Hoke in his days at Michigan, where he didn't have a headset or a play sheet. I don't even know why he was there.
You and I have better headsets than he has right now.
My ones that I had on episode 1 with the cat ears are better than because at least they were. But but it's just like, and and speaking of Matt LaFleur. I think that was the reason why he wanted out of, or not necessarily wanted, but why he needed to get away from the Rams when he went over there to be an offensive coordinator. Is he needed to get out from the shadow of Sean McVay.
Sure.
Because Sean McVay was calling the plays there. Was LaFleur spectacular at his job? Fuck yeah, he was. But he was under McVay, so he needed to get out and make his own identity. Goes to Tennessee. It only takes 1 year, and then he's out of Tennessee. So. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. And Nathaniel Hackett, unfortunately, he was only given a year there, and it was a fucking dumpster fire. But some of that blame has to go on Russell Wilson too.
What, Mr. Unlimited?
Something, and to me, and some guys are just meant to. You're not meant to be a head coach. You're meant to be a coordinator, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And it might have been just wrong, the bad, wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah, his Nathaniel Hackett's track record as an offensive coordinator is going to land him another OC job.
100%.
So I think he's going to be just fine and be an offensive coordinator outside and not have to deal with Russell Wilson's bullshit because he's taken over as the most annoying player in the NFL.
Yes.
I can't even deal with that fucker anymore.
Mr. Unlimited. Well, 2K.
I liked him when he didn't talk.
Yeah, and now he's just
And he
like
played, and he was good when he didn't talk.
now he's just like a walking movie character.
Yeah.
It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and he sucks.
Yeah. Well, 2Ks, let's jump into some of the 2K crew questions here. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to everyone who did respond. But before we jump into the 2K crew question, I want to get your thoughts on, this is my question to you, and I'm definitely a part of the 2K crew. So 2Ks. Breaking. Star third baseman Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox are finalizing an 11-year, $331 million contract. The deal's not done yet, but the physical process hasn't started. But in the end, Devers is expected to remain in Boston. Give me your thoughts on that.
It's about fucking time.
No shit.
That's the only thought I have. It's about fucking time.
Yeah,
What took so long?
And
What were we waiting for?
It's about time they actually kept a homegrown prospect. And it's not too long ago that Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Devers were all on the same team, 2Ks, for 2 years. Think about that. And here's something that I found. And 2Ks, I apologize, I did not get these over to you, so you have no idea what the fuck I'm even what I'm referencing here. But this is a tweet from Craig Teed. Just kind of roll this around for a second. The Yankees will pay $67 million in 2023 for Josh Donaldson, Aaron Judge, and Isaiah Kiner Falefa. The Red Sox will pay less than that for Rafael Devers, Trevor Story, Yoshi, Tristan Cassis, Garrett Whitlock, James Paxton, and Brian Bello. Who do you think spent that money wiser? Granted, now but Judge is locked up pretty much for his whole career.
Yeah.
And even if Devers does sign the extension, this season, I believe it was like $17 million in arbitration money. So it's not his big contract yet. So keep that in mind. That's a lot. I mean, you put Trevor Story in there. Granted, Yoshi, kind of an unproven MLB guy. Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of Cassis except on Instagram, because that dude's fucking jacked.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Garrett Whitlock is a stud. Paxton hopefully has a bounce back season from an injured 2022. Brian Bello is great. So it's more of the. I have a very good feeling if the Yankees could get out from under that Josh Donaldson contract, they would in a heartbeat. You can't tell me that there's. Because Volpe's a shortstop, right? Could easily make the transition to third.
Oh, yeah.
Or, I mean, hell, at this point, if Kiner Falefa is your shortstop, move his ass to third. You know, I mean, the Yankees have a farm system, a very good farm system.
Always have.
So, yeah, I think the Red Sox are kind of getting out on the cheap this year, but one player on there that I would rather have than like three of the other guys, Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, I agree.
Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, I agree.
But let's keep it in the baseball here. Here's our first 2K crew question. This is from my softball captain, Jordan Peterson. Trevor Bauer's situation. So I asked him. I was like, well, expand, and he's like, well. He basically was like, well, do you pay him or get rid of him or what's going on? So I actually had to take a deep dive here. And here's the first. This is from Dickie V. A strong take by @Bill Plaschke. Plaschke, should the Dodgers bring back Trevor Bauer? No, not in a million years. And I'm going to give you some of these other takes, and then I kind of want to get your perspective on this. This is a tweet from Nick Adams, Alpha Male. He's got a blue check mark, so his profile picture looks fantastic. Trevor Bauer should never have been suspended in the first place. That's another take. This is from Louise Randolphy at Louise Randolphy. At the center of the Dodgers' Bowers conundrum, a contract that means they will pay him $22.5 million this year, whether he plays for them, sits on their bench, or plays for a rival. Looking over it all, what they saw with, or looming over it all, what they saw with Aroldis Chapman, which we won't get into the Chapman part of this. But that's kind of what Jordan was alluding to. So you're going to pay this dude $22.5 million regardless. Whether he sits at home, whether he... I mean, you're talking about a guy who last we saw was a number one starter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could argue all day that Clayton Kershaw's the number one starter in that team. Historically, yes, but not anymore. Not anymore. As annoying as Trevor Bauer is, and I think you and I both kind of we talked about this when the situation came down. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it, but I got one more here. This is from Dan Clark at Dan Clark Sports, again with the blue check mark. Him and his wife, somewhere tropical in the picture, with they have matching straw hats on. It says last week because there was a poll that said even the Dodgers players don't want him anywhere near the team. It says last week I reached out to 10 current Dodger players. Four of them have responded already. None of them have any concern playing on the same team as Trevor Bauer. In fact, two even went as far as saying they feel the trial by social media has been completely unfair. There's your story.
And that's it. That right there is, to me, is the narrative. Like, if the players don't want him,
get rid of him.
Get rid of him. Eat the money.
Mm-hmm. Which the Dodgers can.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I am. We haven't seen this guy pitch in so long. Is he still gonna have it? Maybe.
I've seen him pitch on YouTube.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. I'm sure he's still pretty good.
But as far as live pitching in an MLB game, I believe the suspension was 192 games by the time it was all said.
It's so unfortunate with him because I liked him so much when he was in Cleveland, and then kind of at that last year of him being in Cleveland, and then he moves over to Cincinnati, and then he goes to obviously over here to the Dodgers. I just can't even. I can't stand him. I mean, we ripped on him a lot when he first started that YouTube channel and all the shit that was coming out of his mouth, and he had the agent that was on. You'd see him on ESPN all the time, and it just turned into a mockery. I mean, it kind of turned into kind of like an Antonio Brown situation. And like he became bigger than the game.
Bingo.
And it just, I understand what he was trying to do in the beginning when he was trying to put baseball on the map and make it popular and make it, known on social media. But he went so far with it and then became bigger himself. He saw himself as bigger than the game, and I lost all respect for it right when that happened. And if he never pitches another, pitch in the major leagues, it's not going to bother me. If he does come back and pitch, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. I don't care about anything that he does. No care at all. And
I think that what kind of rubbed a lot of folks the wrong way is when he was doing his little interviews for each team before he signed with the Dodgers, and that was kind of like the lead up and was going to be the crown jewel of his YouTube channel. Was in his, not only does he have a YouTube channel, but he has a media company that was going to be the crown jewel of it all, was him doing his announcement of where he was going. And ESPN broke it first. And so he was super pissed off about that. And not to say that compares to the allegations by any means, but I think in the public eye, we kind of were already done with this dude before he even threw a pitch that season. Like, I really don't care where the hell you sign. We all know where you're going to sign because you're going to get the most money from LA. But just get it over and fucking done with, so we can get so we're done with this conversation. And I think at that point, that's where you hit the nail on the head, where you're saying he's becoming bigger than the team, bigger than the game. If he was still the same dude that threw the ball from the pitcher's mound out over the center field wall when Tito comes to take him out, I like that guy. I love the fire, the competitor. I love that.
To me, you ruined it. You ruined your plan of when you chose the money. You chose the money and you chose to go to the Dodgers and you ruined it. Like what people respected out of you, I think, is that you played in Cleveland. You played in Cincinnati. Like you were a big deal and you were not really on that big of a stage, but people wanted to watch you pitch all the time. When you chose to took the money and chose to go to the Dodgers, you were the fifth, sixth most important player in that clubhouse. Yeah. You left being the most important. You were the face of the franchise when you were there. You were it. You were why people wanted to tune in and watch you. When you went to the Dodgers, not only did you get yourself into a shit ton of trouble and a lot of publicity, but you were not it. Like you were just like the sixth, seventh, eighth guy. And honestly, if you were the number one guy on that team and that shit's going on, people are gonna try to have your back because they want you around. But when you're over with the Dodgers and you're pulling shit like that, you're just a fucking distraction on a team that should win the World Series, is going to be the favorite to win the World Series, and the only fucking thing that you can bring to that ball club is a goddamn distraction. That's why I don't like you. That's why nobody fucking likes you anymore, and that's why nobody gives a shit if you ever pitch another game in the baseball.
Well, and kind of to that same narrative, we both hate the Dodgers, so it did perfect place for him.
Yeah.
Perfect place for him.
Fucking stay right there. I don't care. Just keep on distracting.
Let's get another question from the 2K crew. This is from Josh Lowell. Any chance a national title game lives up to the semifinals? I have not Dog, D-A-U-G, or D-A-W-G, or Horn Frog in the fight, but I would take half as good.
I don't have a dog or a horn frog in the fight either, and
a dog.
I really do not care what happens in this game. I guess if I was just for my pure enjoyment, I would rather see TCU win it. Just see an underdog go in there and win it and beat Georgia because I really don't have anything for them. But I don't think it lives up to it. I think Georgia beats them by at least 2 touchdowns, and I don't think there's ever really much excitement in the game. Just a typical Georgia ass whooping that they do about every Saturday.
Well, Josh asked another question, and this is getting back to our discussion of the Lions and quarterbacks. Do you think the Lions should draft a quarterback early? With Campbell's statement of needing to contend for the division next year, I'm not sure if they can afford a quarterback early in lieu of glaring needs on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker and corner, unless they nail the later rounds again with contributors. And Josh, I'm with 2Ks on this one. Do I think that Jared Goff is your answer in 5 years? No. Do I think he's playing very good right now and is gelling with that offense? And let's be honest, Jared Goff is not the reason this team has this many losses.
Played a couple bad games this year. Other than that, he's been, for Jared Goff standards, to me, he's been flawless. I mean, I think it's been probably his best season of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really can't say a whole lot bad about him. To me, like Josh said, sometimes when it comes to drafting, they need help on defense, obviously. And yeah, the value picks are great, but sometimes you need that one guy that, Dallas, for instance, goes and gets a Micah Parsons. That one guy. I'm not talking a value defensive player or a very good defensive player. I'm talking about the guy on that defense. And you have the opportunity to do that with the 6th pick of the draft, especially you have to think there's going to be 3 quarterbacks that are going to go probably maybe before that. So you're going to have a top 2 or 3 player in the draft available to them, or there's going to be the option of being able to trade back because of all those quarterback hungry teams behind 100%. Them, where they could trade back and maybe get 2 big time guys in the first round.
Picks
and they're potentially they could walk out of this draft with 3 first-round picks.
100%.
And 100%. I love the idea of value, and I kind of hope that they do choose to go that. But if one of those big-time names, defense, and you can just stand pat, and I don't want to see them trade up and try to force their hand at one of these quarterbacks. I would like for them just to sit right where they're at, make a trade if they can trade back, and into the first round and get maybe 2 first-round picks. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
And Josh, the only way I could see the Lions drafting a quarterback with that first pick
is if one of those big guys falls right to where they're at. They don't have to move for it. If that happens, if Levis is available at the 6th and they have the 6th pick and he's available there, I don't hate it.
No.
If C.J. Stroud is available with the 6th pick and they have it, I don't hate it.
No.
Do I necessarily think that that's what they should go for? Probably not. I think Goff is more than serviceable. I think he's been great. Like I said, I thought this was his best season of his career, and you got to think he's still young, and with more time with these receivers, more time with this offensive coordinator, more time in the system, I think he wants to be in Detroit. I think he likes it, and I have to believe he's going to just do nothing but improve.
Well, 2Ks, we have breaking news, brother. We have breaking news coming from Adam Schefter. NFL announced that the Week 17 Buffalo Bills at Cincinnati Bengals game will not be resumed and has been canceled. So officially donezo. Now, that leads to a whole other discussion, which half an hour ago ESPN posted NFL owners will meet tomorrow to discuss and decide how AFC playoff seeding will work, with answers expected before the weekend. So that whole situation seems to be like it's getting taken care of, which I think we all can agree that that's the correct way to do things. But we got one more here, 2Ks, and you kind of alluded to it, but I wanted to give our boy Corey his rightful due here. Corey Ackerman, my question is this game: if you have the best offensive line in football, do I run Philly special on 4th and goal? And I think we already answered that, but like I said, Corey, I did want to give you your time to shine here, brother. But yeah, it's almost like there was too much time in between the Big Ten title game and this, and they just overthought everything.
Yeah, I wish I could give you the answer on why they did that, but I don't. I'm still asking myself the same thing. You give the ball to a freshman tight end, and his only option is to try to run the ball in, which you knew that wasn't going to happen, or his only other option was a pass to J.J. McCarthy. There wasn't a second option. There wasn't a third option. I mean, I think if the kid could go back and do it all over again, he'd just heaved it through the fucking end zone and taken the incomplete pass. I mean, that was the play, probably the right play to make. But it was just a very, very poor play call. Should have probably said. Not saying that play wouldn't have worked later in the game. Sure. But definitely should have saved it. Should have sat on it. I would have much rather watched this game the entirety and not seen that play.
Yeah. I have the feeling you will not see that play in Michigan's playbook going forward.
Oh no, I don't think so either.
I think that was a one and done. Yeah. I think that was a one and done, and rightfully so. Yeah. Rightfully so.
If they ever do run it again, it better fucking work. That's all I gotta say. Because, it's unfortunate. I don't. To me, I don't hate the go for it call down there. It's the first drive of the game. You're trying to build that momentum. But me personally, I probably just take the points. Michigan has kind of struggled all season long on punching it in, and they especially have struggled with it since the loss of Blake Corum. And to me, you have the opportunity to come away from the first drive of the game. Hindsight's 20/20. It's easy for me to sit here and say this now, but for me, you walk away with it with 3 points on the first drive of the game. Nothing can go wrong with it. Jake Moody's been basically automatic for you. You're the better team. Like, if you're TCU in that situation and you're not the better team, I think, and you're the team that's the underdog in the game, I think you go for it. Yeah. Obviously, you have nothing to lose. But when you're the better team and you're supposed to win this game and you have the opportunity to put 3 points on the board 3 minutes into the game, to me, you have to take points. When you start the game with the ball and you don't have the option to defer to the second half, and you start the game with the ball, you need to at least put points on the board if the opportunity comes. And
I couldn't agree more. Stupid analytics get in the way of common sense a lot of times, especially here lately. I agree. 2Ks, is there anything we missed? Anything you want to bring up? I mean, I've been watching my phone here to see if there's been any Tigers news, and there really hasn't.
I would stop watching, bud, because that's not.
There is something that I did. Let me see if I can find it here. And if I can, I'm going to be upset that I did not put it on the show because I thought it was completely awesome. second here. Nope, I did not save it. But what are your... Here it is. This is from... It's a tweet from Baseball History Nut, which if you're into baseball and you don't follow him, it's... on Twitter, he's at @nut_history. And he says, okay, this is funny in more ways than one. I guess I should backtrack on this. As of January 1st, sports betting in Ohio is legal now. So FanDuel, DraftKings, that whole 9 yards, everyone in Ohio can do it. Which if you are listening in Ohio, get in on FanDuel because they have some Ohio-only bonuses and boosts that are phenomenal right now. Like I think there's one this weekend that if you bet on any basketball team to score a point, it's plus 500. So from Baseball History. Okay, this is funny in more ways than one. Pete Rose bet on the Cincinnati Reds to win the 2023 World Series. And this is from a tweet from Cincinnati or at Cincy Problems. Pete Rose bets on the Reds to win the World Series with the first official legal sports bet in Ohio. That's just wild to me. That's wild, and I guess it just goes to show you that at least Pete has a sense of humor about it now. And I think you and I can both agree it's absolutely ridiculous that he's not in the Hall of Fame. But that was one of the tweets. I'm like, shit. I knew I forgot one, and that was one of them. But yeah, that and I. Just an update here. Where is it? Adam Schefter tweeted an hour ago that donations to Damar Hamlin's Chasing M's Foundation Community Toy Drive are now over $1.7 million, including the recent $19,203 donation from the Chicago Bears. 1920 being the year the Bears were founded, and number 3 being Hamlin's number. And such awesome news coming out on that young man and his condition.
Yeah,
So-
that was just had a still find myself still at a loss for words on that whole situation. Just never have seen anything like it. I'm the one that, like, when somebody gets hurt bad, like a leg injury, something like that, I'm the one that has to turn the channel because I just can't stand watching it.
Well, they replay it about 8 times.
Yeah, and
I really don't want to see a dude's ankle like the Dak injury. I don't want to see.
Don't want to see it.
That again.
Don't want to see it. And I hate seeing other people in pain. It's probably like, to me, it's worst scenario ever is seeing other people in pain. I hate it.
But you're a big UFC guy.
Yeah. but to see something like that, to where, you know, a guy, for lack of better terms, is dead on the field and has to be revived. Not that we saw that, thank God. But scary situation.
The scariest part for me is it's a hit we see 65 times a game.
Like they were. The one thing I will get into is I was listening to the biggest mistake. I turned the TV on to ESPN, but I was listening to fucking Bart Scott talk. And how he put blame on T. Higgins for dropping his head and his shoulder into Hamlin's chest, and it was like it was a football play. And then he's going on about how, you know, we've made these changes to the defensive side for defensive players on defenseless, you know, receivers or just defenseless players, and how we need to change it to where the offense can't just lower their head or shoulder into defenders. And I'm like, no. Hold the phone. Yeah. You know, what happened is awful. Mm-hmm. And what happened is so scary. And I'm not an NFL player, and I'm not even close to that caliber. Nope. But look, this sport has been played like this for how many years now? Mm-hmm. This is a complete, total freak accident. We don't even know if this guy had something underlying that we don't even know about to this point, and this just, you know, caused it. We don't need to look into making rule changes on this or anything like that. T. Higgins did nothing wrong other than play football. It was a football play, He dropped his shoulder, dropped his head, fought for extra yards. That's something that you're taught in football in Rocket.
Yep.
From day one.
Keep your legs
Low
straight.
man wins. Keep your legs moving. Fall forward. Fight for every yard you can get. He did nothing but a football play. And Bart Scott, when he said that, I was just, when he started going on that spiel, I'm like, I'd turn it off. Pretty much what I do all the time to everybody on ESPN, because that network is a fucking joke. But,
yeah, between him and Skip Bayless,
yeah.
I think those two were the ones that showed their ass the most.
Well, yeah, and Skip just an idiot and just started talking about shit and just didn't think. Look, Skip's an idiot, and I'm not gonna, but I don't think he meant bad by that. I just think he talked before
He thought,
yeah. Which happens to all. We've all been there. We've all done it. People might be mad at some of the shit I just said. And for me, if you got a problem with it, fuck you.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're not changing rules because of what happened. Look, it's scary. My heart goes out to this kid and his family, and I hope that it's nothing but positive news every single day that goes on. And I hope that there's a day where he gets back out there and plays football again. But we're not. It's a freak accident. I mean, these things have happened. We saw it just a couple years ago with Ryan Shazier, where obviously it's not fighting for his life, but fighting for the ability to be able to walk again, the ability to be able to be on the floor and play with his kids someday. Yeah, fighting for that.
That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Like, and I think that sometimes, and Skip obviously, was wrong for saying it. I think so many times we think of these guys that we watch on TV as just pure entertainment of what they do, and we forget that they're human just like us, and this is their job, and they might make a lot more money than all of us by doing it, and they're playing a game, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of hard work and dedication that these guys have put on their entire life to get to have the opportunity to do what they're doing. So we forget about that, and I think that's what Skip did, where he just didn't think, he said what I think he said what a lot of people were thinking. Like,
I mean, and like Dave Portnoy came out and said he agreed with it.
Yeah, and like and for Skip, the problem with Skip is he's on a huge platform. Everybody knows who he is. He's going to be watched under a microscope at all times. Anybody, if I would have made a tweet like that, I wouldn't have got shit for it. But because it happens to a guy like Skip, yeah. But it was just bad timing. He didn't think about it. And at the time that he did tweet it, did really any of us know that he had been?
No.
That it was this serious? I mean, I know I didn't, and I was watching the whole thing.
No.
And I didn't. And the other reason why I don't think I didn't think it was that serious, and I don't think that the audience thought it was that serious, is Joe Burrow's throwing fucking passes on the sideline warming up. Yeah. The refs are telling these coaches, you got 5 minutes and we're going to get back out into playing. Like, I think that was a big reason why people thought this wasn't what it was. It wasn't until we saw Zach Taylor walk across the field and have the conversation, and then they basically called all the players back to the locker room, and that was when it was like, oh fuck, this is serious. This
is something different. This is something we've never seen before.
It was a scary, scary situation. It sounds like things are moving in the right direction. I hope that, I pray that it just continues to fall in the right direction. But yeah, when I instantly pissed me off when I saw people bashing on T. Higgins, and I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
And T. Higgins, he's probably the person that
this is affecting him
just as much.
Yes.
I mean, and a lot of folks just kind of glaze over that. And to get back to your point about the players and the entertainment wise, they're still someone's son. And a lot of these guys, they're parents and they're grandkids, and well, they themselves don't have grandkids, but they're obviously a grandchild of someone, just like you are, just like I am. And yes, they are people, they are human, and that's a lot of folks really don't take the time to kind of absorb that and put themselves in the moment.
So many people, just say, "Oh, these guys make so much money, whatever." And that's such a shitty approach at looking at it. I mean, that's just so much shit.
Yeah.
Like,
just because they make a lot of money makes them not a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, they're flesh and blood, and
yeah.
10 fingers, 10 toes, just like you and I.
Pretty much everybody's had all the same opportunities that these men have had. They just fucking were willing to put in the work. Now, yeah, you have to be born with a lot of ability that not all of us are born with, but that's just for a certain percentage. After that, there's a lot of fucking work that goes into it. A lot of fucking work that not very many people are. Yes, that not very many people are willing to do.
And now, what was crazy about that whole situation is, obviously, my wife's a nurse, and we're watching the game live, and she's like, "Well, what's going on?" And I initially, with all the concussions and stuff, I figured dude was knocked out.
Yep. That's what that was my first thought when he falls back.
We watched Tua take a hit, get up, and stumble down. And I think 99.9% of us that watched that game live thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Joe Buck came out and said they've been doing CPR on him for 9 minutes, Kristen goes, "Oh shit!" Like she's like he's dead. His body's not working. And the first thing in her mind moved way differently than mine. Like I'm just my mind's not even thinking. I'm just watching, going like, what the hell's going on? And she goes, "There's no way they can go back and play this game. There's no way." And then when she said that, I put myself in the situation of one of those players, and it's like, how could you?
Yeah.
How could you? And again, my mind moves towards the NFL being this huge multi-billion-dollar machine, and with what fantasy football is today and what sports betting is, it's like, all right, in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're gonna fuck this up and they're gonna force these guys to play. And
God, that would have been awful.
I think if the coaches themselves had not come out and said no.
Oh, the NFL was ready to play. I mean, they'd already said, the officials told them, and this is no knock on the officials, they're just doing their job. But they were already told, you got 5 minutes. Joe Burrow's throwing the ball on the sideline, getting ready.
Which the Troy Vincent, who's like the VP to Goodell, said that was never told to the officials.
Yeah.
Who?
I'm gonna believe the officials and the players before I believe any of them fucking ass jockeys.
But it was the coaches that took the helm, and they're like, our players aren't playing.
Yeah.
And then you got players in the locker room, like Stephon Diggs. By the time people were actually allowed in the locker room, he was already taking a shower and had a towel on. He was like, "No, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done."
Yeah.
So yes,
they made the right choice, man. So glad that they did not try to go back out there and play that. There's no fucking way that those guys after seeing their teammate, their opponent, lying there fighting for his life, there's no way that you can get your mindset back on to playing football. No. Football doesn't fucking matter.
No.
Fantasy football doesn't matter. FanDuel doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore other than him. And so I'm glad that they made the right choice. I'm glad that it sounds like he's doing better. I can't say it enough. I hope it continues to go that way. Football will be played another day.
Yeah, and I think after leaving the field Monday night, there's and getting back to the NFL being this multi-billion-dollar machine, logistically, there's no real way to push the season back. This just has to be a wash. I mean, which ESPN has already come out and we were talking about this last night in our fantasy chat. If the game's canceled, the scores for those players stay, we just move on.
Good.
Which, and I'm sure all the sports betting books probably the same way. If you had, I can't remember who scored the touchdown for Cincinnati. If you had him anytime touchdown score, you probably still got paid out. But as far as any of the other bets, they probably just refunded your money.
Sure.
Or just refunded everyone's money.
Yeah, that's what they did with me. I got all the money back.
Yeah. Which is what you should do.
And as far as the fantasy football leagues, look, we dealt with this shit a couple years ago with COVID. Dealing with the unknown.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. There's going to be another fantasy season. There's going to be life goes on. Let's just all hope and pray that this young man is going to be all right and that he's going to be able to go on and live a normal life and not have, that's the only thing that matters.
And if you're playing in a fantasy football league or placing bets on any sports betting platform that is going to alter your livelihood,
Yeah, no shit.
then the problem lies with you,
Yes.
my friend, not with the NFL, not with this decision,
Yes.
not with lack of scoring.
Yes.
It lies with you. So keep that in mind, 2K crew, which, I mean, when I lose $5, $10, I get pissed.
You need me to read off that 1-800-GAMBLER number now?
It's on every single sports betting thing because I'm pretty sure by law they have to have it on there. We had 2Ks. I came into the show not knowing if I wanted to talk about that, but since the news broke, I figured it's something we have to talk about. And it's not that often we get to break news on this show. I mean, news really doesn't break at 8 o'clock on a Thursday, so feel kind of cool. I need to make a button that plays cool noise when we have breaking news, so I can push that like once or twice a year. Is there anything else we missed, 2Ks? I really don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we're good.
We gave the 2K crew an extra half hour when I thought we'd be kind of strapped for content here. So good on us. Well, 2K crew will leave you with that. Everyone enjoy the national title game. Enjoy week 18 and kind of see where the... it's one of those things where I want to see the Packers in the playoffs, but I also want to see the Lions in the playoffs. And I don't know if...
I want to see the Lions in the playoffs so bad. I don't think it happens, but... Oh, man, I would be stoked if they were able to get in.
Could you imagine MCDC in the playoffs? Come on, man.
You know what I mean?
Come on, man.
He's just going to be a blubbering mess.
All right, yeah, I'm changing my pick. I want the Lions. Well, 2K crew, we'll get you out of here on that. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.